Right, pleasant good day to everybody. I am, of course, Christ and Disciple. You're watching my channel, and we're going to talk about a number of things from the response of the director's cut to Rebel Moon, the Rebel Moon director's cuts, the response to that. We're going to be talking about um, restoring the Snyderverse and just why it's so important that Zack Snyder comes back to DC. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. We're also going to talk a little bit more in this podcast stream on the topic of Free Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, the political atmosphere right now, how politicians are trying to say anything, sing any tune uh, to get elected. And we're also going to talk a little bit about what's happening with other political leaders and what they're saying, the tune that they're singing right now with respect to what has happened recently in Gaza. Not to mention, we're going to talk about some of the things that happened in East Jerusalem and the West Bank as well. Again, with people who were formerly, indigenous to Palestine. When we say Palestinian, that's a whole other story, because Palestinians, when we talk about Palestinians, there's so many different kinds of races and tribes of people who were in Palestine. So that's a whole other story for another day. But before I can begin to say anything else, and before I go into anything else, all praise be to the Most High God comes first, ladies and gentlemen. You woke up this morning, give the Most High God praise. My name is Christ. I am disciple, not Christian disciple. Christ, I am disciple. So do know that. But I just wanted to start off with that before we go into what we're going to be talking about right now. I know this stream is long overdue, so we're going to get into it, okay? All right, first things first. This stream is brought to you by LIVE Products. LIVE. Live now. We're live now. And there are a couple array of products. We have drinking products. We have natural fruit drinks, the line. And we also have cleaning products. And I just kind of put them together. Here are some of the cleaning products that you have. You have disinfectant, you have liquid detergent, your dishwashing liquid, and you have fabric softener. You can see each of them there in this picture. I'll blow it up a little bit more so you can see. And also, in addition to that, we also have as products, drinking products. And the drinks, they come in 5 different flavors. You have Morby, grapefruit, sorrel, orange, and fruit punch. LIVE, live now. It's live now. We're going to go into Twitter because that's where we mostly get our information. This is mostly where we disseminate our information to you guys. So we're going to go into Twitter right now, and we're going to look at some of the upcoming things that have happened. Rupa Mariana, who's a medical doctor, she says, things I cannot agree to disagree on. These are non-negotiable things. Genocide, racist repression, police killings, land theft from indigenous people, ecocide, slaughtering children, torturing healthcare workers, ideologies of ideologies of supremacism. I'm totally in the same mind as she is. I most likely gave a response to her to vote for Dr. Jill Stein. Dr. Jill Stein and the Green Party, these are just foundational pillars, and these people have done and put in the work, hit the ground. Jill Stein's been fighting for civil rights for minorities, for Native American peoples for decades. Okay, she's actually comes from a medical doctor background, so she would totally identify with Mrs. Rupa Maria. Okay, she would totally identify with her because she comes from that background. So I just I hit the ground running. I jumped straight into into Free Palestine and that aspect of what we're going to talk about. But I'll mix it up. You guys will hear stuff from me concerning Rebel Moon. You'll hear stuff from me concerning Free Palestine. You'll hear stuff from me concerning DC. Okay, so we're going to get through it, but it's going to be kind of like a little mix. Jackson Hinkle. Okay. We have Hezbollah attacking the Israeli military bases and just blowing up a lot of shit. Russia supplied some missiles to Hezbollah, and there's quite a lot of destruction going on there. Okay, so Martyrs of Gaza is a Twitter page that actually accounts for and tries to remember all the people who have been murdered in Gaza. And we have Iyad al-Maghari. He had the same dreams for his family as you and I. He wanted them to know a life in which they had all they needed. The occupation robbed him and his family of their future. Iyad al-Maghari was the mayor of al-Nasurat. It was a position he toiled and persevered to achieve. He was a loyal man who was dedicated to his work. He wanted to build a future for his family in which they had want for nothing. He wanted them to know that it was like what it was like to have everything they needed. He was generous. He gave a lot to those around him. He was one of the most frequent visitors of the mosque. He sought forgiveness and did charity work there. The future he wanted to give his family was cut short when they were all martyred together on the 6th of June as a result of the Israeli aggression. So they want you to remember this guy, Iyad al-Maghari, who was the mayor of al-Nazurat. Okay, al-Nusairat. Sorry, my bad. Okay, and you can go through that Twitter handle and you'll see all of the people in Gaza who have been killed. People who had dreams just like us. They lived lives just like us. They were on Twitter, Facebook. People got to know them. People in Israel and people outside of Israel. There's a rapport between them. And now, because of wicked people who want to do land grabs, claiming that their ancestors used to live on that land, we have their lives just totally ended. Okay? And let me just say, the people who are doing this, first of all, they're not in the war themselves. They're not on the ground fighting. They're cowardly. These are cowardly people hiding behind computers, using AI drones to bomb things and flying in planes, knowing that the return fire can't take down their planes. They have sky dominance. The problem with Israel is they have sky dominance, and therefore it's an unfair interaction. They're not ever having to interface with the people. They just drop bombs on people, and they've been dropping a lot of bombs on people. And I have in here in Twitter some of the information you guys will be interested in. How much of Gaza has been bombed up? It's just been bombed to shreds. And there's no way you can tell me that's about finding Hamas. That just makes no logical sense. Because if you're saying finding Hamas, then you're just annihilating the whole of Gaza, saying you're finding Hamas. That's bullshit. Okay? And let's not forget, they're also arresting, killing, murdering, raping people in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem. All of this is going on. They've been bombing places in East Jerusalem for no reason at all. So they're taking people from their homes. People who are Palestinian Israelis are being removed from their homes. They're demolishing their homes. They have demolished also some of the Orthodox Jews in Jerusalem's homes. So there's a lot of atrocities that have been going on that have absolutely nothing to do with Hamas, and just showing that they're ethnically cleansing the country. And it doesn't matter that you're an Israeli citizen. It doesn't really matter. Like, if you echo any kind of dissent to this draconian, Nazi-like as they say, Judeo-Nazi regime, they're willing to take you as a target. They don't care. You're a supporter of Hamas, and that's it. And they just kill you. They kill you. They imprison you. They can take their house. They can take their lands. All of a sudden, okay. So this is the sort of bullyism. This is the sort of brutality and totalitarianism that's happening in Israel right now, and it's disgusting. It's just disgusting. You're defending people who are raping people and all kinds of. It's just disgusting. So we're getting to see the true side of this government, this nation. All the talk about, oh, they're not committing genocide. They're clearly committing genocide. Their intent is right there for the whole world to see, and it's ugly. And people are trying to take their attention off of this, and it will never happen with me. I'm going to constantly focus my attention on these things. And that's why I started off this video with that. Because if you have a heart, if you're a Christian, if you call yourself a Christian, then you care about people. You don't care about tribes and which tribe you are on, like Lex Luthor was saying. No, you care about people. And what is happening right now is tantamount to the greatest evil that could happen. This is like George Floyd on steroids. So, no, they cannot get away with this. And no, the world must not turn their backs on this. And we know if they do this to the Palestinians, the least of these, my brethren, in Gaza, there are all kinds of Palestinians there. There are, we have the Berber, we have the Arabs, we have the Jews that live in Palestine, whether you like it or not. They're people of genealogically speaking, they descend from people who practice the Jewish tradition. You know, literal Israelis, literal true Hebrews of Israel are actually living in Palestine, and a lot of them have been decimated. You don't see blue-eyed, blonde-haired Palestinians in Palestine and think that they come from Palestine. No, they are actually Ashkenazi descendants of Jews or Europeans that live in Palestine as well. Not to forget, we also have American citizens that live in Palestine who have been butchered and killed and maimed, and their children. So there's a lot of people, and there's not, this is not making media, this is not making news. When they say Palestinian, they're not just talking about the Arabs there, they're not just talking about the Muslims there, they're talking about the Christians there, they're talking about the Buddhists that are there. Yes, there are Buddhists. There are Buddhists in Palestine. That's right, there are Buddhists. They're people of other types of practices, though they're not predominant and they're in small spots in Palestine, they are there. Okay, what people do not know is that Palestine, everywhere we see Israel now, it was Palestine, and Palestine was a commercial place in the world. The Ottoman Empire was there. Before the Ottoman Empire, you had another empire that used to run Palestine. But the people were allowed to live their lives. They were allowed to do things, even if they were conquered in wars. People were left there. This policy that Israel has is just disgusting. It reminds me of the wars in Congo and in Somalia, where there's ethnic cleansing, Rwanda. This is the same disgusting thing that's happening. And the world is not, there's no way anybody who is decent can accept what they're doing. They're doing horrendously evil things. And if they can get away with that, that's a precedent for other countries to do so. America, Britain, Europe, it's a nasty precedent. And it's been going on, but it's been concealed from the major media and from people for years, for decades. But now it's showing its ugly head to the whole wide world. And I'm not going to turn my face. I'm not going to not stop talking about this. I'm going to keep on talking about it. I see people getting targeted now in the United States. We got Scott Ritter, who the FBI went and investigated. The FBI went into another set of people I saw on Twitter, and they're trying to investigate them. And all I can say is the present government that is there, which is supposedly a democratic government, is not a democracy. I'm going to say this once and for all to all of you guys who are listening to me. For some reason, you're listening to me. You cannot elect back either of these two parties. Donald Trump must not be re-elected again, and Kamala Harris must not when you have Jill Stein and the Green Party there. Jill Stein and the Green Party have been consistent. They have backed up what they said. Kamala Harris is singing every single tune she could sing, but the policies that she is a part of right now with the present government is arming. Up to yesterday, they armed. Let me go through this. They armed Israel that conducted all these horrific bombs yesterday that killed a whole bunch of people. Okay. All right. So let me go through a lot more of this stuff here. Listen to this.
Khashoggi being dismembered in the Saudi embassy. I've never seen anything like what Israel is doing today. Look at the outcry of Jamal Khashoggi being dismembered in the Saudi embassy. Horrific, barbaric act. Disgusting. Complete global outcry, right? Of course, the U.S. didn't change its policy on Saudi Arabia, but at least you saw that cursory kind of outcry. I mean, everyone was like, this is horrific. Israeli authorities have killed over 120 journalists and media professionals in the Gaza Strip just in the last 9 months. 20 at least were in targeted assassinations. Targeted assassinations. We know through Israeli intelligence officials told 972 MAG that we know who is in every household. We know the so-called collateral damage. We know every single 7-year-old child that's in the houses that we're bombing. So don't tell me that this is all just damage, that, oh, these journalists just happen to be in the vicinity of an airstrike and, oh, they just accidentally died. No, they were targeted. They were assassinated. That is a war crime. And a lot of them were killed and targeted when they were wearing press vests. That's a war crime. That's a violation of the Geneva Conventions. Even in a standing army, like in an actual official war between standing armies, it would still be a violation of the Geneva Conventions.
Good. So that's enough. I could go into more detail, but I'm pressed for time. Here is, oh, this is just so great. So before I go into Rebel Moon, I don't want to just, well, actually, I can because this is actually in line with that. So the director's cut of Rebel Moon was so awesome, right? It was so awesome that from what I've heard, Rotten Tomatoes has it scored fresh on Rotten Tomato meter. So if there's any message that we should give to Netflix is please just give us the director's cuts. Please just give us the director's cuts of these movies. Please don't say, oh, we need to get a PG-13 version for it, and we put that out first. Please don't do that. If the director's original vision is what it is, stop compromising. A lot of these studios want to do compromise after compromise after compromise. I don't know why, especially Netflix. Netflix, you guys are so liberal with what you do. This is why people come to watch Netflix. I prefer, hands down, the director's cuts over the stuff that we got last year. Hands down. It's fleshed out so much more. The story makes much more sense. You don't feel those gaps, those missing parts. Plus, you get more lore to look forward to. And I didn't read the novelizations. I wasn't going to spoil the movie like that. The movie is more or less the same movie, yes, but it has different context to it. It has different, it explains a lot of things so much more and fills in those gaps that we were looking at. So I like the movie a lot because of that. Do I think it's better than Zack Snyder's Justice League? Hell no. But do I think it's a great movie? Yes. I was looking at it up to last night. And again, I skipped over certain parts like the sex scenes and stuff. I really wasn't interested too much in them. I was looking to see if they had any conversation or anything like that in the sex scenes, but I really wasn't interested in that part. And it was well tastefully done and everything, I know, but still. But it was important to see that there was sex scenes in the beginning, that Cora actually went with the guy. She didn't skirt around him, and only Gunner was the guy. No, she would have her sex, but the thing was she didn't connect sex with love like that. She had her things, and then she had her fling, and then she was still a loner. She was still a wolf, which there's a lot to that. That was really kind of cool to see. And then the thing I like about Sophia Botella's rendition of Cora Athaliah is she's still a woman. She's not this tough ass, hard ass, No, she's actually, her movements and everything are feminine, and she's not stronger than the men. She can't just dominate a man. It's not like a strength for strength. No, it's her technique and her skills in fighting and her knowledge and just the way how she's just bred to fight. Like she's a fighting machine. When it comes to fighting, she knows what to do even if she's losing a battle or whatever. And that kind of, to me, Zach just brought out another dimension of women. And even when I kind of more appreciate what Jennifer Garner was doing and how she's fighting in, Deadpool, even though that was much more a caricature, parody sort of thing. It was nice to see. Again, it's just to see the characters grounded versus a parody character. I think Deadpool's the most parody-like character in that whole movie. Deadpool's like Ace Ventura, pet detective. He's the funny guy in the whole movie. The rest of the movie is really serious, and most of the people are just straight, in the movie, unless they are the Deadpools. And so that's what made Deadpool so funny, because the stakes and everything. Deadpool is a funny character, but the world he's in is not funny. The world he's in is grounded. Things really do happen. People really do die. And so that's what makes the movie interesting. And that's what made me actually laugh my head off. Because, and then I mean, they made it rated R. They made it a hard rated R. And I loved that because, there was no compromise with it. And that's the first time Marvel ever did something like that. Fox is known for that stuff, but Marvel let Ryan Reynolds go wild. You know what I'm saying? He let him go to the extreme, the nth degree with Deadpool, and that's what's making that movie. The movie's crossed $1 billion already, right? What does that have to do with anything? Netflix needs to understand. You need to go buck wild. If Zack Snyder's going wild, you need to go wild with him, because the promo for the PG version was saying how wild, Rebel Moon is and how edgy. Oh, but shit. When we saw the director's cut of Rebel Moon, the opening scene was wild. I mean, it was wild. Okay? It was out there. You got the king's son killing the king. You got him. He has to kill the king, and then you just kill off the rest of the family and leave the son alive. Fuck, that's some serious fuckery right there, and that just shows you how much Atticus Noble is and the system that they use to conquer worlds and what they do after that, and even them branding naked women and branding priestess and branding people, freaking crazy, bro. It reminded me of Batman branding people, of course, but it was just crazy. It was just extremely hellish watching that whole thing. And we didn't get that. We got a sanitized version. I don't understand studios. I don't know why you want to play it safe with a movie that's not supposed to be designed to be played safe, right? Deadpool is not a movie to play safe. Nothing is sacred in Deadpool, right? Deadpool will cover any topic, including using another Deadpool as a human shield and having him die and his head gets decapitated. We talk about headless babies. I mean, Deadpool played on so many different current pop events happening. There was a commentary on everything, but he made fun of everything and showed you how stupid everything is, And it was just crazy, though. Deadpool and the Wolverine is literally a social commentary on what's happening in the world today, politically and otherwise. And Ryan Reynolds, I mean, kudos to him on getting to do almost everything he wanted to do in the movie. And even the joke with the cocaine thing was hilarious. So Deadpool making a whole bunch of money doesn't surprise me. I would like to actually go back into the cinema and actually watch it again, because there's just there's so many things he said in that movie. And he's just making a commentary on everything from Warner Brothers to Disney's dial back of things and why Disney's movies are flopping, and even talking about previous flops with Marvel, all the puns and stuff. And he's talking about also the environment, talking about why there's a resistance to certain things. Because again, you got resistance movement in the void against I forgot what her name is, but Professor X's sister, right? So it's just so much stuff going on there with Deadpool. That you really have to pay attention. The movie's saying a lot. Even though it's a funny movie and it's poking fun at certain things, it's actually poking fun at things that the fans and people in general think they're just not right in this world. And so it's almost a politically incorrect way of saying politically correct things, or a way of talking about humanity that's raw, but at the same time crossing the line. So that's what I like about Deadpool. Deadpool actually is good, man. It's good. It was a good movie. I'm glad I went to see it. But the point I'm making is not that. The point I'm making is Netflix needs to, with certain directors, it's better if you go the risk route. Go all in. Just go all the way. All right. Zack Snyder's one of those directors. He'll never disappoint you. If he's saying, I need this thing to have blood, violence, gore, I need it to be edgy. I need to push the boundaries. You don't tell Zack Snyder, well, I want to sell toys and the kiddies don't. You don't say that shit to Zack Snyder. You just don't. You let him do what he does. Because when he does what he does, everybody's satisfied. Even the critics who usually hate Zack Snyder stuff, they it's dialed up so much that, because it's like the shock element of having your son, which is committed to you, it's fighting for you, he doesn't want to kill you with the sacred femur of a sacred animal. I forgot what the name of it is again. I just watched it last night, but I forgot the name. Right? Kalanta, something like that. It's crazy. And then the priest, and they collect the teeth in memory of the slain Princess Issa. It's just like fucking crazy. And they got spaces still waiting to conquer other places. Oh man, the shit is crazy, man. The Christian shit is crazy. Okay, so that's just the beginning of Rebel Moon, and the movie. It's intense in the beginning. It's intense as you continue the movie, moving on. I mean, it's intense all around. So Netflix. This is for Netflix out there. Okay, Netflix needs to know. Don't forget to smash the like button, people. Netflix needs to know that with certain directors who are proven track record of doing really good movies, when you let them just do what they do, like Zack Snyder, you need to just let the man cook. Okay, let him cook. The movie might seem long, right? But it ain't long. Not for those people lapping up everything that's going on and you want to see all the details on the screen. And like I said before, I felt those gaps, and then the subtleties, the Cali, which is suffering to release that energy so that the ship can go through time portals or through different time zones, we've seen this in a lot of elements of Man of Steel and BVS were inside of this movie. I'll explain what I mean. For example, in Man of Steel, as we all know, the ship, the Kryptonian ship, could bend time, right? So that we saw the Kryptonian ship, with Kal-El leave Krypton, disappear, and enter into Earth or around Earth's solar system, right? So we saw them go through these time loops. But Zach added this extra element where he brings about, so we call it the phantom drives, right? But in Rebel Moon, we have this special godlike creatures called the Kali, and they are able to release a certain amount of energy that allows the ships, the mothership, the King's Gate, the Dragnauts, to be able to move through time, sort of like how, if you were able to bend time and space um, with phantom drives, the phantom drives would do that. But in here, this is going to be the Kali, these beings that do that. But it's that great, the Kali, as you can see, they are bound down inside of these vessels. Inside, the Kali are inside of these sort of like iron or some sort of metallic casing they're contained in, and they're trapped. They're in bondage. They're oppressed, and the priest comes and he turns a dial on the top of the Kali, and that's for them to, as we say in Star Trek, it would be time warp. Well, not time warp. It's not time warp either because that's moving at the speed of light. Here, you're moving through one. What's the word I'm looking? You're bending time and space, and you're moving through like a time warp, sort of like. And so the Kali now, with the energy of the Kali, they're able to use that technology with their machines and time warp or time jump, right? And we see how much suffering and pain and energy the Kali has to use to time warp, and then we hear the shriek of the Kali as it's going through this tremendous pain just to produce this time warp, and it's so punishing, it's so oppressive, it's so brutal, and it's interesting. And you have to ask yourself, how did they even capture the Kali to be able to do this and so on? We see them feed the engines of the ship with the charred remains of the people who they've conquered in the nations that they bombed and blasted and blew up and destroyed, because they destroy worlds, right? And it's so reminiscent of what's happening in Palestine right now. It's so reminiscent also of what General Zod was trying to do, terraforming Earth. And it gives us the sinister feeling that the Kryptonians have so much in common with the forces of the mother world. You remember, the Kryptonians were supposed to be doing an age of expansion and exploration, right? That's a way of saying they went out to conquer other worlds. And nobody ever talks about this. Every time we see Jarrell talking about the age of expansion and blah, 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 and they're terraforming other worlds, and nobody's thinking, are these other worlds populated? Right? So it sounds like the great frontier, when American talks about the wild, wild west, right? That needs to be tamed. That's a very racist statement if you think about it. If you really put your mind to thinking about what I'm saying here, that's a really fucking racist statement. Because why was the West wild? The West didn't need taming. Think about what I'm saying, right? And there were people living in the wild, wild west. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you start to really, Columbus discovered the new world. No, he didn't. He met people there, and they gave them smallpox. Oh, I got to talk about so much, but I'm trying to keep it contained. My point being that Zack Snyder is showing you how Israel is going to be trying to profiteer off the charred remains, off the bones, just like how Zod wanted to build Krypton over the bones of Earthlings. Israel is trying to build Israel off the bones, off the lives, off the blood of the Palestinians. That's the kind of fucking disgusting shit that's going on. Very repugnant. So if you guys think of, the Dragnaught and the ships and what's happening there, very repulsive, because it was very repulsive to me. I don't know about anybody else. And you see the mother world as the enemy from the rebels' point of view. You can see them as oppressing other worlds, and they don't even negotiate with other worlds, which is, again, fucking Netanyahu. He doesn't like to negotiate with anybody, and he calls them terrorists, right? And the mother world was doing the same thing, and again, off of a lie. Oh, the lie was that the rebellion is rebelling against the mother world. They somehow connected to the slain king, which was a coup. And that's, oh man, that's again just reflections of Israel Palestine with Yitzhak Rabin and uh uh and the head of the PLO, Yasser Arafat, and just the fact that Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated by his own people who are connected to Netanyahu. The fact that Netanyahu is like Belisarius is just so fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that's what that nail on the hammer is why Zack Snyder keeps on getting hated in Hollywood. And they trust him. And then they try to make it sound, they try to make it look like, oh, okay, the critics are now rating this higher because, you know, there was more filling in the story and it wasn't a good story. They're like, no, that's not it. They know damn well that he's outing these things. And there's a lot of stuff he's outing. But first of all, I'm excited to talk to you guys about The Accountant 2, that the second movie with Ben Affleck is coming out April 25th in 2025. The Accountant, I think, is produced by some other studio. It's not Warner Brothers. I think it's Universal. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm not watching anything that's Warner Brothers, so y'all guys can forget about that. I'm not watching anything that's concerning DC. Nothing. I'm not excited for anything. Now, these two-faced sons of bitches, okay? All right. Macron from France, Keith Starmer from UK, and the head of Germany, they're now saying how they issued a joint statement calling for all parties to agree to a ceasefire in Gaza. Listen. Not only did the United Nations and the Security Council have a resolution for a ceasefire, which Israel has not respected at all, but these guys are calling for a ceasefire. Now, these people are supposedly pro-Israel, all of them. Macron, Keith Starmer, and this German jackass, who was also there for Netanyahu's speech. Okay? All three of these clowns, and I call them clowns, they don't represent you. They don't represent the people. They definitely don't represent small businesses and the humanity. They represent big business. Okay? The arms, the military industrial complex. Because all three of these motherfuckers are sending arms, are sending military aid and arms to Israel. And they are primarily responsible, along with the United States of America, for all the bombs that keep on blowing up and killing Palestinians. And fuck Palestinians, just killing normal people, civilians. Because in these wars, usually civilians are the major casualties. We remember with the Vietnam War, Cambodia took a pounding, and a lot of Cambodians were killed. Okay? A lot of Cambodians were killed, murdered, millions. Okay? And these fuckers don't care about anybody. Okay? They're singing this tune to say it's unacceptable, but behind closed doors, they wanted to continue to happen. That includes Biden and Harris. Okay? And Harris is singing every single populist tune she can find. Now she's talking about building a wall. She's agreeing with Donald Trump on building some, not a wall, not a physical wall, but a deterrent wall. All right? Just like Israel has. Okay, let's keep it going. Najat Abdi, she says, the Germans destroyed our families, and Najat Abdi, for the record, is not Palestinian. Najat Abdi, she's a Harvard journalist. She was formerly an attorney general, CGNT, TRT, Guardian, Pan-African distance runner. All views are my own, RT are not endorsements. Najat Abdi, she is, I'm trying to figure out where she's from. I believe she is Somalian or Eritrean or one of them. She looks that way. But anyway, she says, the Germans destroyed our families and homes. Don't you destroy our hopes. This is what the Jews said. They then decided to destroy the hopes and steal the homes of the people that agreed to give them sanctuary. But do tell me how Zionism is decolonial and anti-racist at its core. And let me just say this. If you don't look light-skinned or light-colored or white in Israel, You're on the hit list. They don't give a fuck about you, right? And I'm going to give you some examples in a couple of minutes. And so it's just straight up racism going on, and it's ugly. Here they are trying to resuscitate a baby that dies after a blast. The baby's dead. This is the blast in Palestine. This was the recent bombings. A baby. A fucking baby, y'all. You know, we talk about pedophilia and save children and protect children. And we talk about, America's supposed to be built around, atrocities against women and children, right? That was the whole fucking, we're seeing so many atrocities against women and children. And, there's another piece in here talking about the atrocities against women and children. And if you hear me cursing, it's because I'm so inflamed. I'm so angry about this. Okay. I'm so angry about this, because I know these people they're just people. They're just fucking people. Okay. Some of them don't even support Hamas. Some of them don't even care about, they just want to live their lives. They just wanted to have, and these fuckers just killed them. These fucking disgusting pieces of shit that somehow got into positions of power and just fucking up leadership. They're making leadership look terrible, which is what the devil's plan is. They're feasting on their own fucking people. Pieces of shit. That's what I call them. POS. And it just gets to me. It gets to me. I know I shouldn't curse, but it gets to me. Okay? That's a baby, man. The kind of fucking damage they did to these Palestinian people, and it was not necessary. It wasn't necessary. It didn't have to happen. This is something that the fucking government of Israel has done. And the fucking mobs, the settlers, some of mainstream, even some of the mainstream Israeli people are siding with this shit. These pieces of shit. These demonic sons of bitches. And it's not helping anything. So it gets me angry. I'm sorry. It gets me a bit angry that so much good could have happened. You say you're going after Hamas. Then go after fucking Hamas. No. I'm going to use this opportunity to do a land grab and fuck everybody. Oh, they want to stay? Well, we'll level all of them. And to prove the point, they've accelerated their programs and I say programs, not programs, but programs, their torture, their harassment of the population in the West Bank and in East Jerusalem. These fuckers are doing that. Now, I cannot go against the people of Israel. The people, the citizens who want the same thing as the people in Palestine. They just want a life where they can enjoy their lives. They could, take care of their families and live good. But there are a lot of pieces of shit that know they've taken land from the Palestinians, taken their livelihoods, and they settle down in there and they feast off the fat of the land, knowing they took the stuff from the Palestinians. Those pieces of shit, fuck them. Fuck you. If you came from New York or you came from East Europe, and you know what you're doing, fuck you. Fuck you. Now, there's people who are brainwashed because, when there's no dissent, when there's nobody pushing back at a government because they bullied the population into saying X, Y, and Z, you're going to have other people You're going to first have the pieces of shit who will be emboldened, and they'll come out and they'll make their voices known because they're now empowered. And then on top of that, you'll also have the people who are too scared to go against it, and they're going to start echoing the sentiments. So all you got to get is a couple, prominent people to say the thing, and that can sway the whole population to believing bullshit. So you've got some of the Israelis in there who are getting brainwashed into believing the bullshit that their government is saying. But then there's a substantial portion, no matter what fucking poll you pull, there's a substantial portion of Israelis who are disgusted with what they're seeing. Some of them have already left Israel because they know it's not safe. But on top of that, they're disgusted with what they're seeing. And they know this is only karma. That the shit that Hamas did was karma. And the demonization of Hamas, some of them actually support Hamas right now. And I, in some respects, support Hamas in the sense of this. I know that Hamas carried out a military expedition. They didn't go in to attack citizens. They didn't go in to attack civilians. That's bullshit that the Israeli media has been propagating for the longest while. Hamas' objective was to take out the military installations. To this day, Hamas, inside of Palestine, inside of Gaza particularly, are taking out military people. They have not been trying to take out civilians. In fact, they have not even tried to kill hostages. Okay? They have not been torturing hostages and all of that. They have not been doing that because they already know it's dangerous as it is that Israel's bombing the fuck out of everywhere. So the more I hear the truth about Hamas is the more I support Hamas. Yes, I do. I do. Because them as a terrorist is a joke compared to Israel as a terrorist. These motherfuckers are going crazy. Okay? And not Israel, sorry. Let me qualify that because not everybody in Israel is proud of what's happening. A lot of them are ashamed of what is happening. But just like in Nazi Germany, their voices are being suppressed. Supposedly Israel's a democracy. And I can't believe it because they're the same kind of nasty, atrocious, fucking racist. America is literally funding this shit. I always wondered, how was Nazi Germany getting away with it? Well, it's because Europe was funding the shit. They were turning a blind eye also to what was happening. That's why it happened. And now we're seeing the same shit play over because guess what? A lot of these fucking people are racist. And the truth is, the pendulum of power is about to change. And China is about to be the economic power. And with this BRICS coming around the corner, Russia is going to be the military power. And the United States of America doesn't want that to happen, obviously, and the West, because they got a good thing going. So this is why they're backing Israel so hard, and they're backing Ukraine so hard. Oh, it's not that America cares about Israel. Oh, we care about you. It's not that they care about the Ukraine. The Ukrainians are just as fucking racist. There's a bunch of them that's fucking racist and actually celebrate Nazis. And the same shit is in Israel. The most deplorable motherfuckers you can find in the world are right now running Israel. It's a shit show. Before that, at least they used to cover it up. Today, they're not covering up shit. And they're using the name of God. They're using the name of God. These disgusting pieces of shit. They're using the name of God to carry out their evil. The difference is Israel, when it came out of Egypt, out of bondage, when they spoke to Moab and Edom, they said, hey, we just want to pass through your land peacefully. And they didn't allow them. They wasn't trying to invade their land. The reason they beat the crap out of Moab and beat the crap was because they were trying to peacefully pass through their land. When they came up to Jericho, same thing. Jericho said, fuck you. And so they marched around the city and took it. This ain't the case here. They never were trying to peacefully coexist when they came to Palestine. These European Jews. It was the Europeans, the Ashkenazi Jews that started this shit. The initiative came from Europe. And it was long before Hitler came to power, long before Hitler. In fact, the Palestinian Initiative was promised to Israel long before that. Let's go through this. RRG Chronicles says, I'm not a fan of Snyder or Gunn, but he ain't wrong. The general audience doesn't give a fuck about the Z-tier characters Gunn is pushing. Notice how the Superman, Batman, and to some degree Lanterns are the only things that people are talking about. And check this out. Jay Rousseau says, nothing's more true than what you said, brother. We had the potential to overshadow the MCU by a long shot, but WBD threw that potential away. And let me just say what he's responding to. And this is with the Restore the Snyder. And when you hear somebody who doesn't even like Zack Snyder saying this, you know. So a guy FDM said this day Zack Snyder's Justice League teaser fell. And boy, that destroyed the whole internet. I remember crying that day. Running 4011 Gambit Era says, hey, we have Booster Gold. He was responding to that, and then Jay Rousseau said Batman and Superman are 1% of DC. DC doesn't revolve around these two. He's saying, he's saying the stupid shit that people say. As we all know, the biggest selling comic books are Batman, Justice League, and actually, it's somewhere here. Hold on a second. Yeah, the biggest DC comic books is Batman, Justice League, and Superman. And guess what? WB decided to fuck up. Yeah, I mean, they're major fuck ups, man. And again, people with power. You see it, Netanyahu. You see what Israel's doing. You see, and they feel they're not touchable because they feel America's behind them and funding them. And America's just as guilty. And that's why you cannot, I'm telling people right now, you cannot vote for Harris. Fuck Harris. She's right now a part of a regime which is funding Israel, and she has as a policy. She said Israel has the right to defend itself. But which, by the way, Israel does not have a fucking right to defend itself right now. Okay, because it's not defending itself. It's not defending itself. It's an offensive, mind you. Also, they're fighting against a country that has no military. What they have is a voluntary group of people who are pushing back on what they have as a resistance. They have resistant fighters. People are pushing back on an oppressive regime. They've been under apartheid. They've been murdered, raped, imprisoned, and all for no reason except that they exist. Their lands have been taken. So this is the pushback. Okay, Hezbollah, same thing. Okay, the Houthis are actually a military force. They're actually a militia. But Hezbollah and Hamas, they're not a militia. Okay, they're civilians who wanted to fight back and are doing so on that front. And then they have a political wing, which also they diplomatically can work deals with. Okay. So again, I'm not against Hamas for what they're doing. This is their way, possibly fighting back. They don't have any superiority in the sky. They don't have bunkers to really protect most of their civilians. They do have an extensive network system, but again, they had to raise that money, and wherever they could, they designed that so they could fight back, because they understand right now Israel looks like a pariah state. Israel politically will be disbanded. It will be disbanded. There's not an if, buts, or maybe. It cannot last. This cannot last. And so, Israel's been trying to sell real estate in Gaza right now. And so it's just ugly. The whole thing is ugly. And there's no turning back. There's no looking back. Nobody's going to look back. And no matter what anybody says, this is news and it's going to stay news. Now, with respect to, I know I'm talking about DC, and I said I was going to cover this, so I covered it. I'm showing you why Zack Snyder is necessary for DC. Zack Snyder is just necessary. This guy, our G Chronicles, he's not even a Snyder fan. He's not even a gun fan, but he understands that literally the mandate that was given in 2021, restore the Snyderverse, should have happened. It was a fatal mistake not to put Zack Snyder's Justice League into cinemas at that time. And even now, to put it into cinemas could restore some credibility to Warner Brothers, because again, people will go and watch that stuff. The fact that their fuck up of Henry Cavill ended up in an X-Men film in Deadpool and the Wolverine just goes to testify how the sentiment of the general populace, the popular opinion, is that they fucked up majorly when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League and Zack Snyder. They fucked up majorly. Their stock is all-time lows because they mismanaged what they're doing, and they're selling off more properties daily to try and pay their debt. And it's not going to happen because guess what? DC is a major contributor to Warner Brothers in terms of revenue. And the revenue has, okay, so they had, DC had made over, in 2016, they made $1.5 billion off of the DC films in gross revenue. And they also made over $1 billion in revenue off of toys and miscellaneous and stuff like that. In 2017, DC made $1.2 billion, $1.4 billion off of gross revenue for movies, and they made $800 million off of franchise miscellaneous stuff, toys and all that kind of stuff, okay, video games and whatever. In 2018, they made $1 billion, roughly about $1 billion, 1.04 something like that, billion dollars off of the revenue for movies, and then they made about $600 million in toys, miscellaneous, whatever. It was gradually getting lower, okay, because they were moving away. And then in 2019, they made, I believe it was $1.2 billion. It rose up a little bit. And in miscellaneous toys and stuff, they made some money. And then in 2020, it dipped. It went all the way down to, they didn't make any money whatsoever. They owed money. They had less than, I believe it was less than, they were about $200 million in debt when it comes to movies. And then they were about, they made probably, if anything, a couple $100 million in toys and miscellaneous and comic books and all that. 2021, the merchandising spiked upwards. Okay. And they made, I believe it was close to $500 million that year. And unfortunately for them, they didn't make anywhere near $1 billion in revenues with movies. Okay. And again, 2022, I think they made $700 million, somewhere there, 700 million gross in movies and nothing else. And then in 2023, they made no money whatsoever. It was a loss. I think in 2022, actually, they made, I think it's 400 million. Sorry, my bad. Because they lost out on their Black Adam movie, but they made money off of the Batman. In 2024, they have not been doing well at all as well. So what I'm saying is DC was this big flagship that was supposed to really carry Warner Brothers because, it's comic book movie era still. And it backfired majorly, and that's on them. They could have, from 2021 onwards, they could have been making over $1 billion in franchise, and 1.8 billion even. If Zack Snyder Justice League came out, it was going to break $1 billion. These people are stupid. They're just stupid, and they've been profiteering off the company, and now the company's about to die. Zaslav made a lot of money off the company, and the company's about to die, and that's on them. That's on them. And I don't care. I'm not watching anything Warner Brothers or DC. Fuck them. And they have nothing interesting anyway to grab my attention. I'm not going to be watching Marvel, so y'all can forget about that. And even though I did watch Devil and Wolverine, I'm looking forward to seeing Zack Snyder's Twilight of the Gods. I'm going to give you guys a review on Zack Snyder's Justice, not Zack Snyder's Justice, on Rebel Moon, the Chalice of Blood very soon, and then the other one, the second one as well. I think I'll do both of them together. It's going to be a pretty long stream though. Okay, so we're an hour and something in here, and I've been kind of lumping everything together, but you guys got to understand. J. Edgar Leonard Langer says, I used to love WB because they had the rights to all my favorite characters, made some great movies, but now all they do is fuck things up and ignore what fans want. I fucking hate WB. I want them to sell the rights to everything they own because they don't deserve it. Again, it's not something surprising to see. Okay, Mohammed says, to conceal the brutal reality of the treatment of the Palestinian people, the Israeli state weaponizes anti-Semitism, equating all serious critiques of Israel and Zionism with anti-Semitism. Yeah, and it's not helping, of course, Jewish people or people of Jewish descent. This scene lives rent-free in my mind. Yeah, this is what I was telling you about with the Kali. Leonardo Joni says, I'm sure no one's trying to genocide white people. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that third world migrants have flocked to nearly every Western European country at the same time. I'm sure that these people who can't even build a two-story houses got there all by themselves. What she's basically saying is, one, you're doing genocide in other people's countries, and then you're blaming people for migrating to Europe as refugees, which is really retarded. And the second thing is, he's saying you actually helped them get there. So she's right on all counts. Spotted in Berlin. Dear Germans, stop making Palestinians pay for your parents' crimes. As someone of Jewish and German descent, I approve this message. Making Palestinians pay for your parents' crimes. Yes. 311 days of Israel's genocide in Gaza. The Israeli forces murdered 39,897 Palestinians, most of them children and women, and injured 92,152 others since October 7. And we're talking injuries. We're talking about injuries, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza. It's disgusting. And the fact that it's still going is just more disgusting. And America won't defund them. So that's why I'm telling you guys, Kamala Harris is not somebody you should elect for president. Not to mention that she's fascist, just like all of those people, except for Bernie Sanders, who are in the Democratic Party. She should never have just, Joe Biden should never have just been pulled from the race, just like that. You would need at least say, okay, he's not fit. He's not mentally fit to lead or something. There was no grounds why he had to leave. So they forced him to leave, as Donald Trump even said. And that's fascist. Okay? That means he don't run things. Somebody else runs things. Yes, Wall Street runs things. The military-industrial complex runs things. Lobbyists run things. That's what's going on here. Donald Trump called it what it is. Atticus Noble was just so evil. The dude was just evil. Guys, you don't get to condone a genocide and win an election. What's so hard to get about that? Also, if you say you're adamant about a ceasefire or are concerned about civilian casualties on the same day you approve more weapons and money to the perpetrators of said genocide, you're lying. He's correct. He's 100% correct. I agree. I agree 100% with that. Okay, so WEF agenda is being implemented across nations. First UK and now Australia. Soon coming to India as well with broadcasting bill. They want to control every sphere of our lives. I want you guys to listen to this very carefully. Australians will be required to submit an ID to access the internet, and police must have access to the social media, including private messaging, and all tied to this. So we're getting like China. They talk about China as a communist state. You know, Germany, they're already doing surveillance on them. America, to some degree, they have surveillance on people. And now they want you to submit an ID before you get access to the internet. This is some bullshit. But I want you guys to hear it for yourselves. Listen carefully.
Parliamentary inquiry. A radical plan to crack down on social media abuse is being considered by the federal government. For more, Nine's Oliver Haig joins us live in Adelaide. Ollie, how will it work?
Layla, good morning. Essentially, it will work the same as a passport. Australians forced to submit 100 points of identification, like their driver's licence or passport, when using social media accounts like Facebook and Twitter. Now, police would have access to those social media accounts, and it's all part of a crackdown on online abuse. Now, users could be liable for defamation suits or even criminal prosecution, and it's all part of a plan hoping to deter people from engaging in bad behaviour. Now, the recommendations were handed down by a federal parliamentary inquiry. They're reforms that are being considered by the Morrison government, with the chairman saying there is merit to remove the veil of being anonymous. Layla?
So that's what these bitches want to do. They want to take away your freedoms. Okay? It's just another form of surveillance, and they want as much control as they can over you. And this is the same thing Israel has been doing with Palestinians. The same thing they want to do to Palestinians is the same thing these motherfuckers want to do to you. I just want you to know. I want you to know that what's going on with Israel and Palestine is something being tested out for the broader world. It's humanity they want to take down. These fuckers. These disgusting pieces of shit. I want you guys to hear it, unrestricted, unfiltered by me. Because they're shit. They're pieces of shit. They are not up to anything good. Just like our fucking Warner Brothers wants to censor everybody. Call people names instead of listen to them. Instead of trying to listen to the people, listen to the population. These fuckers, they want to control the population. They've been trying to kill us. They've been trying to control us. I just want you guys to know, they try to demonize the people who fight back. Fuck them. They're pieces of shit. I just want you to know that. Okay? It doesn't matter what religion you are or what. I want you to know, if you're a human being on this planet, if you're an animal on this planet, these people don't give a fuck about you. And their plan is for themselves. They're selfish, narcissistic pieces of shit. I can't say it enough. Okay? I want you to understand, the most deplorable pieces of shit you could think about, that's the people who have a plan. And their plan is all demonic. And guess what? What is the devil? He's a piece of shit himself. He does not care about humanity because he didn't make humanity. So this is what your world will look like. They end to have where you live look like this. Look like this. Look like this. Look like this. They want you to live like this while they live in beauty of life and some sort of fucking utopia. That's what these motherfuckers want the world. That's why the gap between the rich and the poor, if you look in America today, there's more homelessness than ever before. And fuck their numbers. Their numbers are lies. because most people can't afford to stay in their homes anymore. Since the housing collapse, America's been reeling. Skid Row is all over America now. Drug abuse is all over America now. But these fuckheads in Washington, D.C. be trying to give you, oh, everything's looking well. But when you look on the ground, everything's not well. Don't believe these motherfuckers. They don't care about you. So, the little light that's at the end of the tunnel is Jill Stein. You guys need to resist. And to resist, you need to vote for somebody that none of them expect to win. Jill Stein. I like her and the Green Party. Give them a shot. Now let's see if they keep their word or if they're full of shit like the other politicians. They've given their policies. Their policies are good. The question is, will they execute those populist policies? We need to come together. We cannot move apart. We cannot fight against each other. It's not going to work. So here is Rebel Moon. This is the novelizations. I didn't read it, but you know, Miss Castro, I heard she did a great job with that. Now let me tell you guys a little bit about how Army of the Dead kind of fits into Rebel Moon, and which is why it was a lie put out there that Army of the Dead is not going forward. There's no sequels. Inside of Rebel Moon, there's somebody called a Xanadite, which is seen at the bar. Now, the Xanadite's queen is Queen Mira. Xanadu is the planet that was supposed to be explored in Army of the Dead Las Vegas because that's where the zombie virus comes from. Okay? So let's talk about that. Listen carefully. Here we go.
It's Yazidi.
Okay, so Queen Maru. Queen Maru is Queen Maru is the queen of that planet. Okay, and it's that planet on which now they probably know it from the novelization. Like I said before, I did not read the novelization, so okay. So let me scroll through this a little bit more because I'm not gonna take 2 hours on this. Oh, this was sick. Fiora. Look at that. Dude changed it into animation. That was so crazy. Listen to this. A woman in Newcastle allegedly arrested for holding a sign peacefully in public saying, "Fight the government, not each other. Britain is the new North Korea." Yeah. This is fascism we're watching at. This is fascism. And that's what's so bad. It's so fascist what they're doing. They're showing that they're not much different to Russia or China. You know? They're enjoying the artistic design of Rebel Moon. 2 Israeli citizens, 2 scenarios. Please tell me how this is not apartheid. A Jewish citizen of Israel can build an outpost in the West Bank illegally, according to both Israel and the international law, on private Palestinian land, and have the state connect him to water and electricity. In many cases, the outpost will even be recognized officially by the state until their supposedly legal settlement. Meanwhile, a Palestinian Bedouin citizen of Israel living in the Negev, who builds a house on land officially owned by his family since before 1948, will have his house demolished. In many cases, his village will not be recognized by the state, even if it existed before 1948, will not be able to connect water and electricity, and will be under a constant threat of demolition and expulsion. Okay, this is the bullshit I'm telling you guys about. That's what I just told you guys about. That Israeli citizens can't even, once they're not white, once they're not supposedly these ethnic Ashkenazi Jews, They're getting all kinds of problems right now. It's just Nazism. Viva Frey says, when she's not promising to fix problems she created, she plagiarizes and steals Trump's policies. Kamala Harris is truly repulsive. What's next? She's going to propose building a wall to stem a border crisis? And listen to this carefully. This was pretty interesting and enlightening.
Utility workers. Because when I get to office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips, people making tips. Eliminate taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers.
Okay. Now, first and foremost, what the fuck? Well, first and foremost, I just want to let you know this doesn't really matter. Like, what's important is, because obviously you can't tax tips. Okay, so I don't know what the fuck they talking about. What's important is not that, but that that, like I said before, you have a give back campaign. You don't tax the very wealthy who get their legal tax breaks. What you do is you give them incentive to put back into the communities and advertise their business into high risk communities, and also afford work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that a lot of the money goes back into the local areas. And I said, state legislation is really more needed than federal law. Federal law could give the framework, but state legislation should really speak specifically to that. Breaking. The Israeli occupation committed 3 massacres against family in Gaza over the past 48 hours, resulting in 142 martyrs. 107 of them have been identified and reached the hospitals, where the identity of the remaining martyrs are still being confirmed and recorded. So they're still doing the Kamala versus Trump shit, which I don't give a fuck about. Jill Stein is the person we should be talking about. This is crazy. So the sequels. They had Suicide Squad that did 749 million, but the Suicide Squad did 168 million. Wonder Woman did 824 million, while Wonder Woman 84 didn't. And it's just a change in leadership. Whereas under Zack Snyder, they did very well. Once you removed Zack Snyder, you got shit for DC. It's so obvious. It's not funny. That's why Zack has to come back. That's why DC is only going to do well. Now, of course, in Hollywood right now, we have the Writers Guild striking against the AMPTP. Again, the AI thing that's going on. They were also striking outside of Warner Brothers itself. And so that's all going on right now. This is where they were sexually abusing the Palestinian detainees. This is called the SDA Teeman. Is a torture site, a torture camp. This is very important for you guys to know. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and the Israeli Mossad head of defense, Yoav Gallant, basically telling them that they will support them and bring troops and stuff to be able to fight against Hezbollah and so on. And here they are carrying the ships to go to war there. Rebel Moon, The Curse of Forgiveness is right now fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Of course, there's only 13 reviews, so I don't know. Nobody says it's crazy that seeing the ultra niche rated R extended cuts receive better reactions than the normal PG versions. Is it because they're just outright better, or because people forgot to review bomb them like did the first movies? They're better. They're better. Kind of goes without saying. Another baby rescued from the rubble of 2 houses with his dead mother. Israeli bombed their homes. So a baby actually survived. The Blade game is coming out before the Blade movie, and that's because, of course, Wesley Snipes came on the scene, which is really great. I saw also the Fantastic Four trailer. It's not bad. It's basically a dated film. It's not a funny film. It's not. It's good. It looks like it's good. It looks like they're taking the characters very, very seriously, which is great. Okay, so that's the upcoming Blade game. Yeah. So check this out. Sean Levely confirms Henry Cavill's Wolverine cameo was influenced by his Superman betrayal at DC, which is really awesome. A story of death from Gaza. I told them my son is 8 years old. They gave me a bag full of 8 kilos of human remains, and they told me to bury them. I don't know if those remains are my son or not. The emergency summit set to take place Thursday is the last call for Netanyahu to lead a deal that would return the hostages, bring about a ceasefire, and significantly reduce the risk of regional war with Iran and Hezbollah. But as we already know, they're trying to restart negotiations, which is bullshit. They should just go with the negotiations they already have and nail it down. So that's bullshit. In 1947, 14,500 Polish Jews living in Palestine requested visas to return to their home country. The Zionist leadership worked to prevent it. And this is the evidence here in Haaretz. That's because Israel was forcing people to come out of their countries. Actually, Mossad was actually terrorizing them in the countries. Like if you were in Iran or Iraq or wherever, they were terrorizing you so they could populate Israel. They were forcing people to come to Israel because people didn't want to come to Israel. People were good where they were. This UN satellite data, as many Israeli soldiers and political leaders openly said, the goal is to make sure that people in Gaza have nothing left to return to or that they die. This is not a war against Hamas, and we know that. And there it is. See all the red marks? That's blood. That's where they bombed. Okay. That's a little bit of Black African history. Dr. William Conan Davis was the first Black man to receive a PhD from the University of Idaho in 1965. He was also created the formula for the Dasani brand water for Coca-Cola. All right. Watching all this behind-the-scenes stuff makes me love it so much more. That's Rebel Moon, behind-the-scenes stuff right here. You guys can check that out on Netflix. In Rebel Moon, the Motherward feeds the subdued space gods known as Kali the remains of their enemies. Kalis are forced to create the wormholes as well to resurrect the dead, as well as resurrect the dead. A lot of the magical stuff will be explored in later films. This is what I was telling you about. It's terrible. This was really cool. This reminds me of suicide bombers, when the little guy gave up his life in order to protect the other people. And basically, suicide bombers, that's what they do. They say, remember us, you know what I'm saying? It's not just vengeance they're doing, it's a message they're trying to send. And now you know why people get that far, why that pushes them when they know their lives are not as important as the message that they want, so that other people's lives could be better. This is Cap when it was... Okay, this is something else. I'm not interested in that. So I'm just going to tell you guys right now, you need to vote for Jill Stein. That's what you need to do. Israel doesn't want hostages back. So in the meantime, the U.S. is sanctioning the slaughter of Palestinians. Again, you have double standards on X. You have somebody saying, I hate Islam is an awful religion and I love Jews, and no hate speech there. No Islamophobia is attached to this. And I'm not saying that this person doesn't have the right to say these things. They have the right to say these things. They're not saying that's their opinion. You know what I mean? But people should be able to free to say their opinion anywhere, on any platform, and not be counted as anti-Semitic or any kind of bullshit like that, which is what they try to use. Henry Cavill is Superman. Make the Batfleck movie. So there's always a demand for these things. When I see people from the third world critiquing Americans, I do not automatically assume that they're specifically talking about me. I think if you are one of those people who instantly jump to that conclusion, you should find out why. And this is Josh. This is an awesome scene in Rebel Moon. This is Issa protected by the wolf. Perkins was actually in Rebel Moon. I think she was the person with the horns. This is really
Just
cool.
watch this video.
If
you think Donald Trump is a better choice for the Palestinian people, you are wrong. Just watch this video.
If anybody I know is Jewish, or if you love Israel and they would vote for Kamala, over me, they should have their head examined. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people.
She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very, very bad to Jewish people. Yani, what are you talking about? In support of Israel, Kamala was complicit in a genocide that has been going on for the past 10 months. Over 40,000 Palestinians have been killed, 70% of which are women and children. He is basically saying that is not enough. If he becomes president, I don't think Palestine will exist anymore.
If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy.
We gave them the Golan Heights. Donald Trump is admitting to helping Israel occupy the Golan Heights, which is a part of Syria. I gave them Jerusalem. Dude, he's gonna give the West Bank next. He wanted to annex the West Bank. He's also gonna give Gaza probably. Is Kamala bad? Yes. Is Trump worse? Yes. They're both crazy. And if I had to choose between Kamala and Trump, I would go with Kamala. Even she's crazy. She's still crazy. But thankfully, I don't even have to choose. And you don't either. Because Dr. Jill Stein exists. Dr. Stein, someone who does not agree with war at all. Someone that will help the oppressed, will help Palestine, and will be good for the world in general. I am voting for Dr. Jill Stein. Who are you voting for?